Hello everyone, welcome to Tactica Imperialis and to today's video. Today is episode 128 of Adeptus Podcastus. That number just keeps getting bigger and bigger and you don't realise how fast the time is flying. Joining me as always is Remleiz from 40k Theories.
Hello everyone.
And our special guest this week is a voice that many of you will be very familiar with if you are a viewer of the 40k Theories channel, but they're also well known for many other projects that I will let them introduce in their own way. Ladies, gentlemen, Xenos of all ages and everything in between, I give you the one, the only, Stephanie Swann Quills.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
It is our pleasure and our privilege to have you on the show. So, for those very few people who do not know who you are and what you're all about, what do you do? What is your profession and what are your projects that the community might know you for?
My name is Stephanie Swann Quills. I am a voice actor, Twitch streamer, writer, singer, ASMRist. I do a lot of different things and I try my best to be good at them. I've done a couple of small background roles for The Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech device, but you probably are most familiar with my contributions to Remleiz's channel, 40k Theories, mostly for lore readings and such. I've done a number of readings of Warhammer lore on my own YouTube channel, as well as some interesting Warhammer ASMR, more like listener interactive role plays with like little mini self-contained stories. And for some reason people seem to enjoy them, so...
So yeah, quite the resume then. Lots of projects, and I've heard, obviously, from watching Rem's channel, various bits of your work, and clearly it's very effective because Rem keeps bringing you back.
Because I was actually thinking about it the other day, and I was thinking like how long we've been collaborating, and honestly, I think it's been maybe about like 3.5 to 4 years.
About
now,
that, yeah.
Rem, because honestly, when you asked me, oh, would you be interested in reading some lore for my channel, that was kind of like my first introduction to the Warhammer community and like contributing to the Warhammer community. Prior to that, it was very much an unknown thing to me, and it just kind of grew from there. And it's been a couple of years later, and we're still communicating, so I think we must be doing something right.
Absolutely. And yeah, it has been just under 4 years now. Be 4 years next week, in fact.
Really? Awesome.
It's almost like you planned it.
It's just a coincidence.
Fair enough. But I think for all the laughs and all the jokes, I think there's only really one place this podcast could start. You may remember during the last episode, we had a discussion, Remleiz and I, about the Sodaz incident and everything else that's been going on around IPs, animators, and such. Well, yesterday, at the time of recording, we're recording this on the 31st of July, we got an update video from Alpha Busa, creator, of course, of If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech device, which Rem and Steph have both contributed to in their own various effective ways. And as you are, I'm sure, aware, TTS is on indefinite hiatus for the moment, with the sort of caveat of it's not gone, it's not dead, it's just on hiatus indefinitely because we do not know at the moment where the updated GWIP policy, which was updated in between us recording this last episode and its release, what that was going to entail. They updated it and we don't know quite how hardline they're going to be. So Alpha, I'm trying not to take too many words out of his mouth. You can go watch his video. I'll link it in the description. I'll actually remember to link it in the description. That TTS, in order to avoid any potential issue with GW down the line, given Alpha's situation with his family and everything else, he's chosen to step away for now rather than be taken down in the future.
Yeah. I mean, obviously this wasn't a decision that was made lightly. As Alpha says in the video, like, he and several other members of the team, like, basically debated this long and hard over the course of, like, a number of weeks, I think it was, just to make sure they come to the right decision, because, you know, despite the fact that TTS is an incredibly large team, you know, a bulk of the work still falls on Alpha, and obviously it's an incredibly stressful process for him, especially because he's just had a kid. You know, he doesn't want to, you know, have the sword of Damocles dangling above his head, you know, or the threat of it, rather. And, you know, I respect his decision to, like, step away, even if it's only for a time being, or like definite hiatus. Like, you know, he has said, like, you know, if, you know, things do improve, then it'll come back. So basically, he's not Sanguinius dying at the feet of Horus. He's Lionel Johnson sleeping in the rock. You know. But, you know, I know there are talks of moving on to, you know, another project. You know, I'm not going to go into details because I don't think it's really my place to say at this point. Because obviously things are still ongoing. And, you know, obviously, you know, we're all incredibly grateful, everyone who's worked on TTS, we're all incredibly grateful for all the outpouring of fan support, you know.
Absolutely.
You know, to not just, you know, Alpha, but the entire team, because, you know, like, Stephanie, you contribute as a voice actress for, like, you know, quite a number of roles. You know, I've done a few voice roles, you know, law consulting, script checking, and stuff like that as well. Like, it was like it's like a big, huge family, you know, family business, as it were. But I think also the one thing we also need to point out this time is that everyone respect Alpha's wishes and not go out and attack, you know, people working for Games Workshop at this time. Like, don't send abuse to Warhammer community or anyone like that, you know. You know, I think we should all respect his opinion and his wishes in that regard.
Yeah. Because as you actually pointed out to me while we were getting ready for this episode, at the end of the day, this has all come from head office or the legal team within head office. A lot of store managers are passionate hobbyists like us. A lot of the Warhammer community team, like Adam or Eddie or Peachy, are like us. They're hobbyists who found their way into the company. And you can have your opinion on Games Workshop as a business and a business model. That's fine. If you want to go at them for that, that's fine. But on this one, it's not... I don't think that voting with your wallet and walking away from GW Store is the right thing to do. Personally, if you've got a local gaming store, especially if it's a single member run or it's a third-party store, I'd say continue to support it. I'm not telling you what to do. I don't pretend to understand all the intricacies of it because I'm not even in TTS, nor am I someone who really created the kind of content that probably is within GW's purview the same way. But I know that I'm going to continue to support my store near to me because it's a third-party store. They stock other products outside of GW, and I don't want that store to close. They're the only hobby shop in the town I live in. I know the store where I used to live back in Manchester. I know the team there personally. I spent a lot of hours in that store, and I know just how passionate they are for the hobby, and I wouldn't want to see them run out of business because the store wasn't profitable because a bunch of hobbyists boycotted it. Now, I think we maybe are overestimating just how many people in the Warhammer community are aware of TTS and things like it. Like, I had a chat with one of my colleagues at work who had never heard of TTS, despite being an avid hobbyist and someone who watches hobby YouTube. But it is what it is. Your choices are yours. I think if you want to sort of send a message to GW, the best way to do it, I think, is just not to buy Warhammer Plus. Because at the end of the day, Warhammer Plus is what has led to all of this.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I don't want to speak for you or tell you what to do, but that would be what I would do, and it's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to get Warhammer Plus unless something changes. Like, there's a statement made that fan-made content will be permitted as long as X. Like, for example, as long as you're not copying a piece of Black Library literature or a piece of Codex art and just recolouring it or something. I
As long as you at least state this is unofficial and unaffiliated with Games Workshop kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. I think they just need to do something, because at the minute, even for someone like me as a lore channel, I know that there's a chance, because I use third-party fan art rather than GW art, and I use GW stories rewritten into my own script. Am I safe? Probably, but I don't know that, because the policy looks to be so heavy-handed. So I think there is still a bit of a patience game to be played, but I certainly think Alpha has made the right decision in the interest of his business and
his family.
Absolutely. Whether that's the online family of the TTS crew or his actual literal family.
Yeah, because he's he and his partner have just had a kid, so obviously he's got to do what's best for them. And exactly. I totally understand, in wanting to look for a more, a less stressful form of income, as it were, something that will be able to help pay the bills and all that without someone breathing down his neck, which is totally understandable.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And I know a whole bunch of people are worried about the lore channels, like us, for example. I know Oculus put a similar statement out earlier in regards to this, and to basically paraphrase him, in regards to my channel, I'm going to keep going until I'm told not to. So,
yeah, we're here until we'll be here until we're pushed. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I can't really say anything. I haven't made a lore video in 8 months, but but yeah, we're not planning to move away. Podcastus will still continue, and that will be until we are told to stop. Yeah. If we are ever told to stop. Yeah. I think the other thing that's worth mentioning, with the benefit of a little bit of hindsight, is just a thank you to the community, because obviously you might not see the numbers. Alpha, I know, shared some of them, but the amount of support, not just verbal and written, but financial support that's gone to Alpha, his Patreon numbers, it shows just how many people really care about this thing and how much they still want to support its creator, even if they're not creating for us or for our community. It is fantastic to see, and I think it's worth saying thank you to everyone who has either added to or chosen to step out and support Alpha on Patreon, or any of the TTS creators, whether that's Zoran, whether that's Erndil, whether that's Failsnake, whether that's Fresh, whoever. Yeah, thank you.
And another sad news, Bray Wyatt got released from WWE today as well.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. But yes, however, as the song and everyone else says, the show must go on, because, we said we were staying, so let's do our job and let's stay and let's do the show. And that means let's do the news, because there was some rather fun news. I know this is going to sound like a jarring change of pace, given I'm going straight in full tilt into the news, but as I say, the show must go on. And the show begins, well...
But before we jump in, I just want to point out that the coming soon page for Black Library has not been updated since May, and by the time this episode will release, it'll be bloody August.
Yes, please fix Black Library, because you have just dropped a bunch of new books, like the new sort of compilation for AOS, as an example. So yes, please do that. But model-wise, the show... Well, I'm sorry, I'm going to overrule you here. The show starts with dragons.
Yeah, someone's been watching Dragonheart recently, it looked like.
So, yes, there are 2 new dragon models, or Draconith models, I should say, coming for the Stormcast Eternals faction in Age of Sigmar. These are the last sort of clutch of eggs that hatched a long time ago that were the survivors of Kragnos. If you haven't read Broken Realms Kragnos, essentially, Kragnos' race fought wars with the Draconith, and Kragnos all but wiped them out. But a few eggs were spirited into the care of the Seraphon, and later into the care of Sigmar. And these eggs have gone on to hatch, and that has led to 2 new dragons. The son of Dracothian, which is the dragon god beast that found Sigmar all the way back in the day, known as Krondis, or the blue one.
It was definitely not Sotek.
and a red one called Karazai the Scarred, who apparently has a bit of beef with Kragnos in general.
And is voiced by Sean Connery.
Yes, there was a video trailer for it as well, which was quite good. I have to say, I do really like the design of the dragons, and it suggests that they're going to be quite a versatile kit. Either they're going to be two separate dragons, or they're going to be able to be built very differently to each other, because obviously their heads look in different directions. One of them has armor plating from the Stormcast, and the other one doesn't. I think the wings are at the same angle, and a lot of the detailing is in the paint job.
Yeah.
But there's still a fair number of unique components in these kits.
I will say, I'm not too keen on Krondus's arrogant smirk. It just looks a bit derpy to me.
Kind of reminds me of the dragons from Eragon.
Oh God.
Do you think maybe with the sculpt and the smirk, it'd be less on the nose if maybe the tooth right in the corners of the mouth wasn't present, and it was just kind of like the curl of the mouth a little?
Yeah.
I think the designs, like in terms of the detailing of the sculpt, is absolutely amazing. Is there an idea of how big they are in terms of height once they're fully assembled?
We don't have any. I think unless in the trailer we may. I'm just going to quickly play through the trailer on sort of like 1.25 times speed, just to see if I can work out exactly how big they look on the battlefield. But I'm not sure if they actually did show them next to anything.
I imagine they'll probably be the size of, typical Gargant model. As
actually, no, there's an image of them with a Stormcast Eternal down in front, and that Stormcast Eternal is up to Karazai's ankle, whilst also being in front and therefore looking slightly larger. So if a Stormcast Eternal is probably up to about the size of the rock or the foot, so you're probably looking at about 1, 2, 3, 4 and a bit Stormcast high, which is not the best unit of measurement, but it's the best I've got.
So probably.
I'm just looking at. Sorry, go ahead.
So I was going to say, probably about the same size as a Gargant then.
Base-wise, they actually seem more on the line of Teclis than a Mega. I think they're going to be more on sort of scale of Teclis. Just looking at the base and the angles, I think it's 105mm round base, which I think is what Teclis is on. But I could be wrong. I could be entirely, wholly wrong. But we will see exactly what they decide to do with them.
And it might just be the particulars of the paint that they show for the post on the website. But I like that the scarring details on Karazai, it does look arcane in nature. I suppose then when you get to paint your own, you can make it like more lightning scars. But I think the choice in the way that it does look like scarring that one experiences if one was struck by lightning is really, really cool, rather than just standard like gash wounds or like bullet wounds and things like that, just to kind of make that a little bit more interesting.
I think the sort of canonical reason is those wounds have probably come from Kragnos. But we'll see exactly what the plot details in the Stormcast Eternals Battle Tome, which is where they will be found. I sincerely hope that they play by Gotrek rules or by Elania and Elithor rules, where they belong in a certain faction but can be taken by anybody. Because Stormcast already have a dragon. It's called the Star Drake. And they have a Pegasus. And they have a bunch of other cool creatures and baby dragons without wings. They didn't need the standalone dragons as well. So I sincerely hope that the dragons can be taken by other Order factions. Hopefully, possibly, maybe. That would be nice.
I mean, it makes sense for them to be able to be taken by Seraphon, considering, hey, we're the ones who saved your bloody eggs.
Yeah, absolutely. But we shall see exactly what what it brings soon.
Sorry, just in regards to this these new releases, how long has it been since a model of this scale that has been a dragon has come out? I take it it's been a while.
Well, the last dragon was the Star Drake back in the hallowed days of 2016 was the last time we got a proper dragon. There have been various monster scale creatures, like for example Teclis with his giant sphinx.
Wasn't there also that blood dragon in 2018.
The
Blood Dragon of Khorne.
Oh, yes, that was Forge World. Yes. The supermassive 1100 point Khorne dragon, yes. Vorgoroth, that's the one. That dragon did exist for Chaos, but given its Forge World, a lot of people forget about it, unfortunately, because that's the sad truth of 40k and Age, Forge World and Age of Sigmar. Everyone forgets it exists.
Yeah.
Beyond that, you've got various big monster creatures like the Leviathan, Marathi, Lavkar Vai, the Mortarks. There are a lot of big monster creatures, but in terms of big flying monster, probably going back to things like Archaon and the Star Drake and the Khorne Dragon for the really big guns.
Speaking of big creatures, do you want to talk about the Vulture?
Yeah, I would actually. So this is Gobsprak, the Mouth of Mork, a Cruel Boys shaman general mounted on a corpse ripper vulture called Killerbeak. And
magnificent.
Yes, it is. Literally, you take the auric off it, it probably belongs in every dark fantasy setting you've ever seen.
Like old Skeksis. I see what you did there.
I'm sorry, I had to. It was inevitable.
Shame we're never going to get a season 2 of that, but hey.
Yeah, I was really hoping for season 2, but it is what it is. We at least have a magnificent season 1, and there's probably going to be comic series afterwards to like fill in the next season's plot that they never get to do.
Hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
But going back to the Vulture, sorry, Tag.
That's fine. But it is a very nice model, and I love the fact that again it comes with a boss variant with a no-named character. As well as the shaman, which is always good to see, because there's nothing more annoying than a named character model that should realistically have a non-named variant and doesn't. But they've sorted that. They've done it correctly, and they do look very different to each other. Apparently, this shaman has beaten a Lord of Change at Magic at one point, or something, with a demon's hand atop its staff. Bound to the material plane by the shaman's desire to show it off. Oh dear. Orc logic. Orc logic. They speak Kragnos' language, which is quite nice, and they are sort of, Kragnos' pet translator with a bit of extra detailing on top because, it's an Auric. But it shows that the Aurics have a lot of new monster characters because you've got the sort of Troggoth creature. You've got the creature from Dominion, which I've forgotten the name of. You've got the sort of chariot thing where you've got a bunch of different mounted hero options for the killer bosses, which is always good to see because more big scary monsters is always a good thing up to a point. Apologies for very loud neighbours.
You what, sorry?
I could hear my neighbours shouting downstairs. I thought it came through my microphone. Must not have done.
Oh, no, it's all good. Couldn't hear anything.
That's fair enough. But yes, very, very nice model. Very much glad to see it. And it does look cool. Though, again, I'm not going to collect Auric War Clans. I have too many projects. Just looking across my desk. Again, too many projects.
But there's always room for more. Just one more that you can add on, like that you'll eventually get to when you have the
4
time.
elf armies and Slanesh and Orcs and Tau.
But this is a vulture, and it is a beautiful sculpt.
Nah.
Do it.
No. Moving away from the mortal realms, 40k has very much gone onto the back foot, but we did get a one new model. Did we get two?
Oh, I'll be honest. I thought when you said moving away from the Mortal Realms, I thought you were going to go back to the old world briefly.
I was going to, but I get the feeling the people who signed up for a 40k podcast would like us to talk about 40k at some point. So I was going to jump because we got Castellan Crow last time.
Yeah.
But we did get a model for the Thousand Suns that will be opposing them in the Hexfire Battle Box.
Yeah, it's the oh god, what's it called? Infernal Master. Yes. Which is basically got his baby screamers.
Yeah, it sounds like it's very similar to the Master of Possession that the Chaos Space Marines got, in that they are the demonology expert. Now, it doesn't seem like they use it for possession, because, you know, all the rubrics can't be possessed, they're dust. But it works sort of as an idea of like creating bonds with demons, the infernal pacts.
It's the old tutelaries, isn't it?
Mm.
Yes, it does actually make reference to that. The tutelary familiars that actually are the same thing. And each master will know 2 infernal pacts. For example, one of them is you can make a unit unable to overwatch or dig in, which is quite nice. Or another one, which is give a model's ranged attacks +1 strength, which I get the feeling is going to be quite nice on the right target.
I say the box set that these two are going to be coming in, the Infernal Master and Garen Crow, the box art looks absolutely lovely.
Yes, the box is called Hexfire, in case you're looking for it online. And it contains, obviously, Crow and the Master, but you also get a Nemesis Dread Knight.
Baby carrier.
The baby carrier. And a full squad of 10 Grey Knights. Now, for those of you who don't know, these are the old Grey Knights, which can be built in 4 different ways, whether as Purifiers, a Strike Squad, Interceptors, and Purgation Squads, whether you want sort of classic infantry, sort of more elite Purifier infantry, the teleporty ones with the jump packs which are more like Shunters, or the Heavy Weapons Squad. And the Nemesis Dread Knight can also be assembled as a Grand Master if you want another HQ option. So there are plenty of options for Grey Knight players in that box, even if you're only getting 1 new miniature and no Primaris upgrades.
Whereas the Thousand Suns, they get 5 Terminators and a bunch of Zangor.
Mm-hmm.
And a Shaman. Part of me feels they got a bit screwed.
Certainly, compared to a Dread Knight, it does feel like the Thousand Suns get a slightly worse deal. But at the same time, there's nothing you could really have put in there that was really Thousand Suns unique, apart from the Mutilith Vortex Beast, because they don't really have big stuff in their army. In general, they don't really do big monsters and big smashy things in the same way that the Grey Knights have the Dread Knight.
You can always put Hellbrute, I suppose.
You could, but it's a bit boring. And that said, you have got 2 psychic characters, as well as the demon tricks of the Infernal Master. Zangor, I think, honestly, the only thing I would change is I would swap those Zangors for Rubricae, because then the Terminator sort of match up to the Dread Knight. The Rubricae are probably slightly worse than the regular Grey Knights, but also lose because they lose out on versatility. And then you've got 2 heroes sort of match up to the Dread Knight psychically and to Garen Crow combat-wise. I think it would probably have been better to swap them for Rubricae or add 5 Rubric Marines on top, but we are where we are.
Yeah.
This also does give us the first look at the cover art for the Thousand Suns and Grey Knights codices, which, well, they're codices. I do like the Thousand Suns one quite a lot, with the Exalted Sorcerer riding on a disc over the top. The Grey Knights one is a bit boring, because of course it is. But they will be out soon-ish, probably. It doesn't say exactly when, but we'll find out in due course, I do not doubt.
So speaking of what's out now, or available on pre-order at time of recording, House of Shadow.
Yes, this is Delac.
Delac.
Yes, so House Delac for Necromunda are out and about on the pre-orders. Not that you'd ever spot them, given they're so sneaky. You get the Nachtghoul, the Psygeist, and the Piskian Spectre with the added Psychoteric Worms. It's not the Delac Squad. I think that came out a while ago.
The gang did, yeah.
Yeah, the gang came out a while ago. This is the sort of Champions box. Rather than spreading them out, they've just dumped them all into one, which is probably for the best. There's a bunch of Orlok upgrades as well, as the House of Shadow book and the cards and dice and diddly diddly whatsits.
I do also want to point out the fact that they get bloody nulls in their gangs.
Which ones are the nulls?
Blanks.
No, as in which one?
What was it? There's a character you can get from in the Dramatis Persona called the Onmyodo Null, which shuts down psychers.
Right, okay. I was looking at the box contents and thinking, which one of them's the null?
No, in regards to the House of Shadow book, it's like some of the rules got leaked as well.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough. I must have missed that one.
Along with one of their specialist psychic powers, the Suicidal Embrace.
Oh, joy. Oh, joy.
Yes. But they did say, well, this is the last major gang house. It's not the last one. Because in Q4 of this year, there's going to be a new gang book that's being released. They didn't say what it is. And also allies. So I'm reckoning this is going to be either Scavies or Ratskin Renegades.
What about Scalies or Muties?
Well, Scalies and Muties will fall into the Scavvy gang, because Scalies were like the Scavvy Heavy.
Oh, right, sorry, I don't speak Necromundan very well. My bad.
Because they folded the Redemptionists in with the Cawdor book. So they're no longer their own unique gang in that specific sense. So I reckon it'll probably end up being Scavies or Ratskins, or maybe both. Kind of like how in the Book of Ruin you had Genestealer cults and Chaos cults and Helot Chaos cults, and criminal gangs all in the same book. So
yeah, true.
I reckon it'll be a book about Outlanders. Yeah,
sounds like a plan. We'll see exactly what comes in Q4. But this is not all that has gone on pre-order this week. It's been a monster week of pre-orders. The other big chunk was Battlezone Sharadan with a new game board and a bunch of unique terrain that comes in the box, as well as finally releasing the Battlezone Mechanicus terrain separately. So the Galvanic Magnavent, the Ferrotonic Furnace, and some Trans-Tyrannic Gantries, basically walkways. So you can
either give such an overly pompous name to a fucking walkway.
It's the Mechanicus, what were you expecting? But yes, so you can get a bunch of Mechanicus stuff separately, or you can get it together. I think there's some unique stuff inside the Sharadan box, but I don't want to say for certain because I cannot remember all of it being what's new, what's not. Like the thermoplasma generators, I feel like they're not new, but I feel like none of this is new, but I'm also can't be sure, so I don't want to say with any certainty.
I think it's all pre-existing stuff that's just been painted in a new colour scheme, to be honest.
Yes. And finally, the Adeptus Sororitas get their combat patrol, as well as the Aestrid Thurga banner bearer, the tank, which I forgot the name of, the Castigator, are also out. And one thing they've changed, that this is minorly subtle and also weird. I'm going to come back to the box in a moment. But if you click the picture of the battle box of the combat patrol, rather than, actually this is true of all the pictures now that I say it, instead of just clicking them to get a popped out photo and then going to the bottom to click to the web store, if that's what you want, you just click the picture and it takes you to that product's page.
Huh. Also, I feel like this combat patrol is, with the exception of the Rhino, exactly the same as that army box set that was released back in 8th edition.
I don't think so, because it's got a squad of battle sisters, a canoness that didn't exist, Repentia, Archoflagellants, Seraphim, a penitent engine, and a rhino. I feel like the penitent engine certainly wasn't in there. Because I swear the penitent engine came later.
No, the penitent engine was in there. Yeah, it's exactly the same. Apart from the rhino. The rhino's only a new addition to it.
Oh, right you are. Wow, that's lazy. Wow, that is so lazy. I don't really have a comeback to that. That's... Wow, GW. Wow. Oh dear. Right, okay, fair enough. Nice recycle, I guess. But that is.
You sound disappointed now.
It's just lazy. I'm not disappointed. If anything, I admire the Squindle, but it's also really fucking lazy.
Do you remember when the Deathwatch Ignition box set first came out, and then they repackaged the Deathwatch Kill Team as a Deathwatch starter set? They just added a Dreadnought to it.
Was that the Kill Team Cassius one?
I think so, yeah.
Or was that the one with Watchmaster Artemis?
No, it was one with Cassius.
Yeah, okay, yeah, because there was the other Deathwatch box, which was Deathwatch and Harlequins around the time of Gathering Storm.
Yeah, that was Artemis, yeah.
Yeah, I can never remember the names of all the different boxes that come out these days. I can never keep up.
Cassius was the chaplain, Artemis was the cannibal.
Yeah, I remember it's just the name of the boxes. Like, what was the Harlequins Deathwatch box called?
Death Mask.
Of course you know. Fine. All right, fair enough.
It's my job to know.
I know it's your job. Forge World also has a pre-order, that being Lady Credo, one of the sort of hangers-on. Is that what you'd call her?
Hired gun, I'd say.
Hired gun, probably better, yeah. So yes, she's coming for... I've just closed that tab. She's coming for Necromunda, which is always good. More options there to accompany your Delac stuff. And finally, Black Library's pre-orders have gone up, and that includes the first wall, if you're actually not like Rem and getting all the limited editions of Siege of Terror. So the first wall is on its way out.
In paperback.
You've got the probably already sold out limited edition Lionsgate Spaceport map, which I think costs like 40 quid.
It's about 45 quid, yeah.
Or some foolishness like that, yeah. And I'm just going to click, and yeah, it's gone. But it looks very pretty. I'll give it that. It looks pretty.
Oh, yeah. It's somehow look nice framed.
Definitely. There was also a Black Library pre-order the previous week, which had the new sort of AOS compilation. These are always good. It's called Thunderstrike. Indomitus was also redone into...
So did you say it was called Thunderstruck?
Strike.
Oh, damn, I was hoping for an AC/DC reference.
No, Thunderstrike after the new Stormcast armor.
You got Thunderstruck!
Yeah.
Sorry.
There's a paperback version of Indomitus, and there's also some books being translated into German, including Godblight, Empire of Lies, and Gotrek.
Doesn't it also say in regards to, like, I don't know why, but why is it like, the German and French language versions, you get like the Horus Heresy omnibuses, but only in those languages. Like, you don't even get them in English. You only get them in German or French or whatever. It's like, why won't you release a Horus Heresy omnibus in English? That just baffles me.
Probably, if I was to speculate, and I'm completely speculating, it's that it probably doesn't pay to translate each book individually and ship them individually. Whereas you'll get enough sales of individual English copies, whereas it probably pays more in terms of profit to just send,
I guess, but
a chunk of books at a time.
At the same time, wouldn't it be like an easy way to make some money? Hey, let's just reprint, like, say, the first 3 Horus Heresy books as one book. Just reprint as one book. They go, they'll sell out quickly.
Do you really want another sort of edition of Horus Rising?
I've already got like 5.
I know, that's my point. That's my point.
I got the paperback, I got the hardback, I got the other hardback that was part of the Legends collection, and I've got the limited edition. No, I've only got 4 copies, sorry. Only 4.
Only 4.
Only 4. In fairness, the one that was part of the Legends collection, that was part of the subscription, so it was like one of those books part of the collection, so it wasn't exactly me going on to purchase it deliberately kind of thing. And the hardback one's like, well, I want the collection hardback and I've only got the paperback version, that's all dog and tattered, so fuck it, I'll get the hardback version. And the limited editions, because I'm a whore for limited editions. And it was done like the Siege of Terror style, with the big leather cover and the big brass medallion on it. That isn't even the same colour as the Siege of Terror book, so it's like a different shade of brown. It's like, it stands out so annoyingly. Like the other ones are like, mahogany colour, and this one's rosewood coloured. It's like, for fuck's sake. Anyway. Old World?
One of these things is not like the other. Sorry.
It's alright.
Yes, we should jump from one universe to another back to the original. And yes, there was a Old World article for, Warhammer the Old World, obviously. And it was mostly just a quick Q&A about what's going on with it.
So, yes, it will be square bases, stop asking kind of thing.
Yes, it will definitely be square bases. Regiments will be moving ranked up units with strategic manoeuvring and will be as much a key part of the game as it ever was. So, good. Confirmation that it is more moving toward the north. You've got Kislev and it's working further east, probably because, got to cash in on Total War Warhammer 3 and all of that.
It's and rules-wise, it's basically going to be 9th edition fantasy, essentially.
Yeah, it says it will gather up favourite mechanics from 3rd through to 8th. The 1st and 2nd were more of an RPG rather than a tabletop game, so 3rd edition will be the starting point. Something deeply familiar yet fresh and new. So we'll see how close to the fan-made 9th edition rules it truly ends up being.
Orcs will be called Orcs, not Aurochs.
Yeah. And keen-eyed observers will have noticed that this will be set hundreds of years before the end times. This will put us just before another calamitous chaos invasion, one which was, while central to the story, barely touched on in previous iterations, and still no release date.
That was on about Magnus the Pious, wasn't it?
I think so. I don't know my fantasy lore very well, but it's after the foundation of the Empire, so it's after the coming of Sigmar and all that stuff. But I don't know exactly which event it's referring to because I don't know my fantasy lore very well.
I do want to point out though, when the end times happened, when Age of Sigmar first came out, and there was that person who burnt their Dark Elf army. I bet they're kicking themselves right now.
Well, we've got no confirmation the Dark Elves are actually in the game yet.
Even so.
But yes, honestly, it is one of those things that we've known ever since they actually did reveal that, hey, Old World's coming back, that anyone who got rid of their fantasy armies just because of pure spite is now not going to be very happy about it.
It's like thousands of pounds of plastic wasted.
Yeah, just if you really were that annoyed about it, just recoup your losses and put them on eBay, dang it. That would have made much more sense. But no, you had to go get the flamethrower.
I mean, they could have just rebased them and say, hey, I can play it for AOS now.
Which you absolutely could, and you still can, because most of them went into Cities of Sigmar inside Darkling Covens.
Or more or less untouched if you played Skaven.
I mean, Skaven, Lizardmen, Empire, Dark Elves. Most of them made it across pretty much untouched. Even Dwarves made a good, safe transition. The big losers were High Elves, Wood Elves, and
Bretonnians and Tomb Kings.
Bretonnians and Tomb Kings, yeah. They were the big losers overall. But we are where we are. Can't go back 6 years and change anyone's opinion.
God, has it really been 6 years?
2015, yeah. Because it's been 3 years per edition, and it's now iOS 3.
Oh, God.
I know. But thinking of things that are old, they actually did, we talked about this last time, in the Malagus, the Twisted Box, there was a accidental misboxing of a Sons of Horus Praetor. Well, GW finally revealed there's a Sons of Horus Praetor on the way. We got a proper look at it inside the Legion Dispatch.
They literally posted this in the next day after we finished recording the podcast.
Yeah, pretty much. And they are a son of Horus because
of course they are. He has a very smug-looking face.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a... this is going to sound really odd. It kind of looks like a Thunderbirds villain. Like, the way it's been painted, it kind of looks like the puppet style of the Thunderbirds villains.
He kind of does.
I know it's a really odd reference.
Do you know what? The bald head... this character's face, with the green armour, I'm getting some major fucking Lex Luthor vibes here.
Oh my god, you're right.
I see what you mean. I do. Also, the helmet's weird. I don't think I've ever seen that design of helmet before. It looks like... Did they mention what armour it is?
Looks like heavily modified Mark IV.
Yeah, but the helmet looks almost like Mark 1. Like Thunder Armour.
I wouldn't go that far, because Thunder Armour didn't have a faceplate.
I know, but it's Thunder Armour with a faceplate jammed on. With the top knot and all that. Most Space Marine helms at the time didn't have top knots.
Well, unless you're all White Scars.
Well, okay, yes, fine.
Maybe he looted it from one of Jagatai's boys, I don't know. He just repainted it. Unsurprisingly known as Sons of Horus.
True. I think that covers most of it. There was another terrain reveal for Age of Sigmar because they're getting their starter boxes, the equivalent to Indomitus's boxes, whose names I can't remember, different tiers of starter set. And there's a lovely piece of terrain in there called the what's it called? Nexus Siphon. That's it. Which is a lovely kit. I really like this thing and I can't wait for it to come out on its own because it is very nice and I can't wait to alphify it.
Oh, the Bull Shrine.
Sure.
It's a shrine with a big bull and it's a bull shrine.
It's not a shrine though, it's a magical siphon built to sample the geomantic energy that's been where the Dawnbringer...
It still looks like a shrine though.
I'm quite aware that's what it looks like, but I'm telling you that's what it is. It's a Nexus siphon designed to siphon geomantic energy from ley lines.
As an outsider, it is a bullshit.
Yeah. And speaking of terrain, boards and painting things, Armies on Parade, PSA, is coming back as an online event once again, with the awards day being on the 20th of November, with submissions taking place throughout all of October, opening on the 1st, closing on the 31st, if you want to get involved with Armies on Parade. The categories will predominantly be 40k, AOS, and everything else. And yeah, if you want to get involved, get involved.
Fair enough.
And with that, I think we've covered the core bits. Yeah, I think we have. I think we've covered the majority of the news.
Fair enough.
I'm just having a quick flick through. Arena Mortis for Underworlds, no one cares. Middle-earth models, even less people care. Warhammer 40,000 Battle Sector, don't care. Oh,
what?
And they're going to be off sale by now, so you can't get those anyway. Never mind. Yep, done.
Oh dear. Oh, one bit of information that did come out recently, because you know how, in regards to the Demon Primarch, we know what Lorgar looks like, we know what Angron looks like, we know what Fulgrim looks like, blah blah blah. The only one we didn't know was Perturabo. Yeah.
Yes, that's always been the case.
We have information on what he looks like now.
From where?
From the Storm of Iron limited edition, from one of the bonus short stories that was included in it. It was either story Half-Breed or Warbreed. I can't remember which one on top of my head.
Okay.
But we have an official description, and long story short, he pretty much looks the same. So basically, he went through the Mortarian treatment. Not much changed. Just that his armor is a little bit fleshy now, like a skin of metal and flesh combined, and that his face is pallid, dead, and necrotic.
Yeah, so to read the whole thing, the Primarch was a giant plated in silver and steel, encased in armor that was more a fortified sarcophagus than anything wrought for a living being. Edged in yellow and black, scarred from 10,000 wars, it was known as the Logos, its textures strangely alive, like a skin of metal and flesh combined. He went without helm, his head a nightmare of pallid dead flesh, necrotic and bleached of colour, like a corpse dragged from a depthless ocean trench. Thick cords of ribbed cabling pierced his skull. Why am I reading this, given we have an actual voice actor narrator sat opposite us on the table, and I'm the... What am I doing? Why am I doing this?
Did you want me to read it?
If you don't mind, because you do a damn sight better job than I would.
Sure, just from the top, and stop after, like, the... just before the bit it gets to Sadra? Just the descriptive parts.
Up to you. Take it from wherever... I mean, if you want to maybe go from his name, that probably is a decent place, because I've already said the whole top bit.
Okay, the Lord of Iron himself. He went without helm, his head a nightmare of pallid, dead flesh, necrotic and bleached of colour like a corpse dragged from the depthless ocean trench. Thick cords of ribbed cabling pierced his skull, running back across his scalp in hissing cornrows. Eyes that were gimlet black, yet lit from within by the coldest light, stared out from a face that had known only bitter disappointment and had been cursed by inevitable betrayal.
Yeah. So that's Perturabo. Also, he still has Forge Breaker. It just looks completely different. Even if... Who made Forge Breaker again?
Ferrus Manus.
That's it. Yeah, even if Manus was still there, you wouldn't even recognise it. So, yeah, it's still Forge Breaker, but it also looks nothing like Forge Breaker. So, they basically left it as open as they can.
I'll be honest. Like, for this description of Perturabo, it's very bloody underwhelming. It's like, what does he look like? He just looks like himself, just out on a bad day. Pretty much.
Yeah, we always sort of suspected or theorised that he kind of looked like a sort of obliterator. Yeah. Yes, where he's fused with his armour. His armour's alive a little bit, and the mechanical bits are still there and still visible, which they are. So, yeah, he's basically exactly what we expected.
I guess maybe in some ways they left it purposefully vague so that then people can kind of add their more, like, their own details to it in the way that they imagine it before it's his definitive depiction is confirmed in any, like, sculpts or models or anything.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It just seems very underwhelming. Well, like,
standard?
I was going to say, underwhelming when you compare to, like, you know, say someone like Lorgar, who basically turned into, like, a giant gorilla type monster thing, whose head's on fire. You know.
Yeah, by comparison to that, it feels just a little underwhelming.
It really sounds like, and I don't know if this is a compliment or not, it really sounds like sort of a more mechanized variant of Nemeroth, the demon prince from Space Marine. Like,
oh god, yeah.
It just sounds a bit like Nemeroth. Because Nemeroth barely changed on his ascension.
He got a tail, though, in fairness. At least.
He did, I guess.
In fairness, in the game, he was only partly ascended. He wasn't fully ascended yet, so...
True.
So that was the reason why he still looked mostly like a space marine.
But hopefully we do get a miniature for Perturabo eventually. I'm not banking on it for at least a couple more editions, but, you know, maybe.
I mean, I know a lot of people like are clamoring for, like, you know, a Fulgrim or, you know, an Angron model, but it'd be really nice to go out of left field to give us Perturabo next. It's like he doesn't get any fucking attention whatsoever.
This is true. This is very true.
And plus, he recently did have that spat on Mortarion, so that could tie into something, potentially, for the tabletop.
They're more likely, though, to sort of make it, it's all about Gilliman. Mortarion, well, spoilers, So who's next for Guilliman? Well, he's already beaten up someone from Khorne in Scarbrand. He's already beaten up Magnus. He's something with Mortarion. Let's get Slanesh's turn and have him job out Fulgrim because, we've got to run through everybody.
Is it just me, or is Guilliman going to be running out to John Cena's theme music? Do, 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 do.
Well, I mean, you couldn't see him for quite a long time.
Hey. So Guilliman wins, lol. That's
modern 40k in a nutshell. Is Guilliman wins, lol, is not that far off from the truth. Because Guilliman losing means the Imperium loses. It's kind of like towards the back end of. This is going to age me a bit.
I was going to say, at the very, at least when they brought Vulcan back for the Beast of Rises series, they had a decency to kill him off,
Yeah, but Guilliman's fate is so tied to the Imperiums now that it's kind of like this. Actually, this will age me a bit like the back ending of a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, where if the protagonist loses, the world ends. So the protagonist is obviously winning. Like, at the end of the day, protagonist wins lol is the end result. How they do it is up to you. But protagonist wins lol is always the way it goes. Everything's ultra high stakes. You can't afford to lose, so you don't lose. So Guilliman can't lose. He's not allowed to lose. He might lose a battle, but he can't die. He can't be driven back massively.
I mean, you can always do Guilliman gets killed by one of the Emperor. It's like, yeah, the last loyal son of the Emperor is dead. Then Lionel Jones pops up and goes like, what, you say what, mate? It's like, oh shit, there was another one. That's right, stab.
Yeah. Oh, we killed that one. Surprise, it's the wolf time.
Again. It's like, wait, that's not Lemon Russ. That's Lemon Russ, his twin brother who's like citrus fruit. It's a terrible joke, and I don't know where I was going with it. Fuck it.
Yes, but... Oh, actually, I don't know why. I just saw this in my Discord servers. I just reminded. Did anyone notice the Moonpig Warhammer cards?
Yes. They've been out for quite a while, actually. I think
they promoted them this week, so...
Yeah, because, I got one for my dad for Father's Day recently, so...
Ah, fair enough.
But you have to admit, the Farseer one, what the fuck font were they using? It's like, you can't even fucking read it. I mean, did you see that one, Zach?
No, I think I missed that one. I've seen the Tyranids one and some of the other ones, but I don't think I saw the Eldari one.
So I just wanted to say, it's like, Warhammer Dark Eldar card, and it's a picture of fucking Fugan. The Phoenix Lord. It's like, no, mate, no. That's not a Dark Eldar.
Yep. Wrong. Well, to be honest, no Dark Eldar card would ever be appropriate for anyone, ever.
Anyway, this is the fun I was talking about.
Oh, jeez. I get what they're going for.
Yeah, just no.
They're trying to obscure it because if the truth were hidden, perhaps a lie would be told. And trying to hide a secret thing in the message because you're trying to be cryptic because the Eldar are cryptic buggers. But also, no, it just doesn't work. Sorry.
It's just I can't even read what the default name actually is.
I think it's supposed to be Hayden? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because there's a Y further down for today that's used to get up there.
Fuck. Whose idea was that? Jesus fucking Christ. Happy 40th birthday. I guarantee no fucking 40-year-old will be able to read that. Be like, why is that just a bunch of squiggles? Anyway.
Not making an old joke. Was tempted. Thought better of it.
I fucking dare you.
Yes. Anyway, let's jump back a step to Guilliman, because there was actually an article on Warhammer Community completely just going in on how 5 times the Imperium would have been doomed without Robert Guilliman, which was basically just a recap of the Gathering Storm series.
Yeah, I saw a whole bunch of people memeing that, saying, I think you mean 5 times the Imperium would have been screwed if it wasn't for Ivrain.
Yeah, that's not entirely inaccurate.
It does tie into a question, so I'm brought up in the comments, actually.
We'll get that one later. But the reason I bring it up... Yeah, the reason I bring it up is because it does make reference to Godblight, the third Dark Imperium novel, the big Mortari and Guilliman showdown. And I believe you've been reading it, Ram.
Yeah, I'm only about halfway through, so...
How big is it, though? Like, I feel like it's a chunky book.
It's chunkier than the other Dark Imperium books. Not by that much, probably by about... If I'm trying to guess by just judging at the spine. Probably by at least another 30 to 50 pages, at least.
Okay.
That's just me having a rough guess, because I haven't actually checked the page numbers of the other Dark Imperium books for a long time.
Yeah, fair enough.
And bear in mind, the Dark Imperium books I have are the old ones, not the new retcon versions, so I honestly don't know how it's going to compare, like, you know, how the Godblight Limited Edition is going to compare compared to the other two, which are the old ones, and even though Godblight was written in mind with the new two in mind. It's just confusion. Confusion, yes. So yeah, I'm not sure if I want to talk about it right now, or wait until I finish the entire book.
That's fair.
Because I know you wanted to bring on someone specifically to talk about it once I finished the book, didn't you?
Well, I would have liked to if it dropped out the way that it dropped out, but with the scheduling the way it is, I'm not sure that would work anyway. So, I don't know. If you feel there's something worth talking about, then we can talk about it, but it's your call.
Honestly, at this point in the book, it's not really that much to talk about, I feel. I'm only about halfway through the book, but the only... I don't know, it's just very, like, mundane plot setup so far, I feel. I mean, there was an interesting thing with the talking slug, but that was about it, I feel, so far from what I can recall.
I mean, don't tell me that a Guy Haley Dark Imperium book about Guilliman is not being particularly fun to read. Because I know you and Plague War did not get on.
I really didn't like Plague War. I mean, first Dark Imperium book I thought was fun. The second one I didn't enjoy, except for that last chapter where that scene with Guilliman chewing out, you know, the priest. That was great, that scene. I fucking love that scene. And the scenes with the, you know, the little girl that was possessed by the Emperor, those were interesting. It's just like all the stuff with the Nova Marines was boring as fuck. But yeah, I'll wait until I've finished the book before I go into detail, because I'll be honest, aside from the talking slug and the whole point of what the actual Godblight is, I don't actually remember much of it so far. I feel horrible saying so, though.
It's a bit of a condemnation if, like, I can remember two things and I'm still in the middle of reading it.
I mean, I remember the opening scene with the demon. I remember the whole point with what the actual Godblight is. You know, the point with the talking slug. You know, Kugath and Roticus's conversation. I remember that was actually pretty fun. And basically everyone's going to Ajax and stuff like that. And Father Matthew's got his own fucking militia now. Oh, what do you fucking do? And the custodian wants to cut his head off, and Gillen's like, no, don't do it.
Wait, hang on. Does that mean that there's a Fraterus militia knocking around?
In a sense, it's more of a... His militia is like, it's formed from like Acadian Guard Regiment, and now it's got a couple of units of Adeptus Sororitas with it now.
Right, okay.
And Colquitt's like...
close.
And Colquitt's like, are you really going to let him go and do it? And Gillen's like, well, they might thin out the enemy a little bit, so fuck it. I don't give a fuck about this guy at this point. He's pissed me off.
Theoretical. This is illegal. Practical. It might get the guy I don't like killed.
In a sense. But yeah, I'll go into more detail when I finish the actual book. But in the meantime, speaking of Dark Imperium, not the Dark Imperium novel, the Dark Imperium anthology from... Check notes. When was this first come out? It was in 2001. The old Dark Imperium anthology that is only available in paperback, and even back then, fucking hell, the Australians were getting screwed in prices. Like $5.99 UK price, $6.95 US price, $14.95 Australians. Like, fucking hell.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So, Games Workshop does not like Australians.
It's mostly just like, oh, we have to like up the price because like we're importing it from another country. Like, no, it's a book. It's not that expensive, but okay, fine.
I'm pretty sure Australia has its own printing presses at some point as well. They could probably print them as well. I don't know.
But 2001, just for context of how long ago 2001 was, that's 3rd edition.
That was 20 years ago.
Yeah, but for 40k's sense, it was 3rd edition.
Yes.
Tyranids barely existed.
No, they were around since 2nd as a full army, and they were mentioned in 1st.
The Dark Eldar were brand new.
Yeah, as an army, yep, they were brand new.
The Necrons had just digivolved from Chaos Androids for the first time.
No, not true. Necrons were actually their own thing in 2nd edition, but they only had rules available in White Dwarf.
Right, okay, so this is just a showcase of I'm too young for this. I feel like, was Sororitas 3rd edition import?
No, they were 2nd. Gav Thorpe actually wrote the first codex for him.
Right, fair enough. Black Templars, they were new.
No, they were actually featured in the Ultramarine Codex in 2nd edition.
Oh, but they were on the cover of the battle box, so I thought they were new.
No. They were basically the focus army. Because, like, you know, in 1st edition, you know, the main Space Marines were the Crimson Fist. 2nd edition, it was Blood Angels. 3rd edition, it was Black Templars. 4th edition, it was Ultramarines.
5th edition, it was Ultramarines. 6th and 7th was Dark Angels, and then 8th and 9th was Ultramarines again.
Except for that one box that was Space Wolves.
Just cause.
Just cause.
Yes. So, yes, let's travel back 20 years to the days of things being very, very different and see what we can see.
Yes. So, it's a short story called Ancient History. And the reason I chose this story specifically is because I saw this story being sourced in regards to information regarding both the Men of Iron and the Men of Stone.
Which are the creators of the Men of Iron, as I recall.
So I thought, it's a story called Ancient History. This has been cited as that. So it's got to be have a whole bunch of information on it. It does not. The only information I had regarding the Men of Iron, who actually referred to as the Men of Steel in this, but I'll let that slide. It could be just an early working name. And the Men of Stone is told as part of a short allegorical story of people living on a fucking island. It's like, that's not fucking helpful. It's more a story about life on a fucking battleship. It starts off with one guy being chased and kidnapped by Imperial Navy officers. It's like, congratulations, you're now working on a Navy ship, son. You're being kidnapped and you've been pressed gang into service. Because that's how you get all the gunnery crews for Imperial battleships. They just flat out kidnap people, apparently.
Well, I mean, the British Navy did it too, so, you know, fitting.
It's like, they put them to ports like, people are a resource just like food and water, we just take what we want and just shove them in the hold.
Yep.
So yeah, right, you're going to be working on the gun crew. Oh, joy. Get to work, da-da-da. But the main character, the guy who got kidnapped, is a guy called Nathan. A very 40k name, I know. Then again, you also got people like called John. Like John Grammaticus. I think there was also I think there was a different story, but I think there was actually a guy called like Dave Belisarius or something in one story. Anyway,
Belisarius and Dave. What a combination.
Dave Belisarius, House Belisarius.
Yep.
Actually, I need to check his name now because that's going to bug me. Fucking hell, the story. I will get there. Adrian Belisarius. Anyway, so Nathan, he's basically gets in press gang to work, and he makes friends with another crewmate who's called Kron, who has a bionic eye. This is important. Now, at some point after like the first long day, which is absolutely bloody horrible, Nathan can't sleep because, living in trying to sleep on a bunk, which is sweltering hot, stinking of sweat and grease and dirt, everyone being pressed in together. Bloody horrible. He can't sleep. Understandable. Mm-hmm. There's also the fact that the ship's now going through the warp, so people are now starting to have nightmares because of the warp.
Mm-hmm. So
him and Kron's like, can't you sleep, laddie? I don't know why he's Scottish, he just is. And they basically go out and sneak out of the bunk, to basically, get some quote-unquote fresh air. Accidentally bump into one of the, armsmen of the ship, who are, acting as security. It's like, oh, don't worry, it's just Leopold. He'll be fine. As long as we don't dob him in for, deserting his post, he'll be fine. So they sit down, and it's like, Crom says to Nathan, right, since you're new here, tell us a story. What do you mean, tell you a story? Well, it's tradition, you're a new ship crew member, tell a story to tell people what they're like, and they can express their problems, through a story without actually telling people what their actual issues are, kind of thing. Okay, well, you tell me a story first, then. All right, I'll tell you a story. Back in the ye olden days, all of humanity lived on a single island, and they could see other islands in the distance, but couldn't get there. They tried to swim, but they couldn't, so they stayed on their island, but they ran out of food and air and water on an island. Do you see where the allegory is going yet?
Yes, this is terror.
Yes. So they built men of stone, who built men of steel, who built stone ships to sail the oceans to go to the other islands and take people with them. And then these people got onto these new islands and they had new lives on these islands, and then they forgot they ever came from a different island. And then the Men of Steel rebelled and they were put down, and that's that. And that's literally all the information we get in this fucking story about the fucking Men of Stone and Men of Iron. Fuck the story being called ancient history. Anyway.
So that's the dark age of technology in a paragraph.
If that. So yeah. So Nathan in response tells a story about how he got kidnapped, essentially. But as he's telling the story, they can hear the sound of something trying to be stealthy. Crom and Nathan can hear the sound, but they keep talking just so they don't give themselves away. Mm-hmm. And they get attacked by a group of people, 3 people. Two of them just get easily knocked out of lead pipe or whatever. But one of them shoots lightning out of his hands and starts frying Crom. He gets knocked unconscious. He starts frying Nathan, but then Nathan throws his knife and it ends up embedding itself into the guy's throat. You initially think, oh, it's got to be a psyker, shooting lightning out of his hands.
Yeah.
It's not. It's a fucking electro priest.
Okay, at least that makes more sense than a latent psyker on board a Navy ship, because that would have been a disaster.
Yeah. But it turns out this electro priest was in disguise as a regular naval crewman. How that goes about, I do not know, but again, this was 3rd edition law, things have been different. Anyway, it turns out that this guy was a guy who used to run with Nathan back in the day before he got kidnapped, who worked with him on a pirate ship.
And went on to become an electro priest.
No, not quite. It turns out that the last ship they stole from had a unique pirate sigil, according to Nathan. And as Nathan and Crom are basically escaping, trying to, because obviously they can hear the armsmen coming to check on the commotion, they go into this chapel. And Nathan's still telling about the story about, how they were on a pirate ship or whatever, or how they raided a pirate ship, blah, blah, blah. And Nathan points out, this symbol that the pirates had, didn't look like this, perchance. And it's the fucking Admech skull. It's like, yeah, the reason that Electro Priest wanted to kill you is because you, even though he was apparently working alongside you, he was apparently a Adeptus Mechanicus double agent, or something. Which makes you think, what the fuck?
Right.
And he was basically trying to kill him to prevent his identity from being slipped, because apparently he's trying to track down someone who'd been stealing from the Adeptus Mechanicus. And in the interim, proximity alarm goes off, another ship appears, and they get boarded. It's not an AdMech ship, it's a Chaos ship. Because, of course. Forgot to mention, during the fight, when Crom got briefly knocked out by the Electro Priest, when he came to, he was acting like a completely different person, completely different personality, and then his bionic eye flickered into life, and then he was back to normal.
Mind control unit.
Kind of. Anyway, so yeah, ship gets boarded. Everyone's got to get into these pressure suits because we're going to get boarded. It's probably going to be venting atmosphere from these boarding torpedoes. Get your suits on, lad. Get your shotgun to that, lad. Let's go do this. Go to the boarding torpedo. It's a bunch of chaos cultists in boarding torpedoes. Okay. Then out comes one single chaos space marine who beats the shit out of everyone because it's a chaos space marine, a bunch of people in pressure suits. Who do you think is going to win the fucking fight? Let's be bloody honest.
Mm-hmm.
Chaos Space Marine ends up getting killed because Crom can also shoot out lightning from his hands, but he is not an Electro Priest. Because he says so we'll take his word for it. So basically, Nathan gets severely injured during the fight against the Chaos Space Marine, falls unconscious. He wakes up. He's now also got a bionic eye, the same kind as Crom. And let's try and get the actual word for word. Nathan asks him, "Who are you really?" And Crom says, "Oh, I was a princeling who was stolen by gypsies." Which Nathan says, "Don't start that again." Say, "Okay, well, let me put it this way. Cross the stars and fight for glory." And that's how the story ends. So it's like, okay, so what the fuck really was Crom? We don't know. Was it trying to allude to him being a man of iron or something? I don't know. Because it does say that Crom... Where is it? But where the fuck was it? Yeah. Cron's suit was shredded and bloody, a death shot surely, wreckage dislodged by the shockwave crashed down nearby with a horrible clangor. Cron didn't even flinch. His eye blazed with the fierce light of a furnace. So it's like, okay, so it's like, I'm thinking, like, is it trying to imply he's a man of iron or a man of stone or something? I don't know. Or he's just a psycho. But it's like, it's a weird way to end things, personally. But yeah, that's the basic gist of the short story. There's some... I mean, most of these stories, you can only get in this book. You can't get them digitally, which I find disappointing. I think literally the only one you can get digitally is Wrath of Khan. Yeah, the William King one about Khan the Betrayer.
Right.
I think that's literally the only one you can get digitally. But, like, you got a whole bunch of things. Like, you got one called Apothecary's Honor, Demon Blood. The Demon Blood story, that had the Ultramarine falling to Nurgle and then redeeming himself at the end by blowing up a Demon Prince.
Okay, that's
I covered that in one of my videos. Go check that out. There is... Oh, and also the one, Battle of the Archaeosaurs, which had Orc Gargants against giant fire-breathing dinosaurs. It was fucking awesome.
Yes, that does sound rather awesome.
And what I do want to try and read next time called High Fleet Horror. Because it sounds absolutely fucking cheesy.
I feel like that there used to be a High Fleet called High Fleet Horror before they fully just discontinued them and just slightly renamed the classifications.
They might have done, in fairness.
I feel like that did exist. But I'm willing to be wrong, but I feel like that did exist. Or maybe it's just that I've heard of them in a wiki article because of this book, and that's where I know them from. I don't know.
Possibly. Yeah, I do recommend Demon Blood. That is a really good story. Because basically it has, like, you know, a sister of battle basically going on a quest to try and get this Ultramarine redeemed. Even going against her own order to do so. Fighting against this Nurgle corrupted Ultramarine has basically become a champion of Nurgle, who then redeems themselves at the end by basically, you know, sneaking a miniature nuclear bomb into their chest and then blowing up a giant demon prince the size of a continent. Because 40k. Nothing is fucking subtle.
I swear Guardians of the Galaxy 2 literally did that. well.
And it was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not hearing any issues.
No, I'm not saying it isn't cool, because it's a good story plot. I was trying to come up with a better joke, but I couldn't come up with one. Like, a miniature nuclear device, don't you just mean a melter bot type thing, but melter bombs aren't nuclear, I know.
This was literally described as being a nuke, so...
Yeah. Also, I saw a comment on the last episode saying, like, how orcs don't have melter guns. Like, the one faction who you think having a melter gun, like a gun called the melter gun,
in fairness, in 2nd edition they did.
I know.
They even had a melter gun on the fucking orc bolter sprue. Back when orcs used bolters. That's just...
Those were the days.
Those were the days. In fact, there was 2 orc bolter sprues. One that had the melter gun, one that had the plasma gun. I'm trying to find it now. So I can see lots of ones of the old Rogue Trader era one, but not the late 2nd edition one.
I'm sure it'll turn up. If anyone happens to know where they can find one, please do point it in our direction. Not that we're going to buy it, but details. I would contribute at this point with stuff I've been reading. I've been reading a bit of Stormvault, one of the AOS novels, and it's good, but I'm struggling to think of, again, sort of like cogent plot points. Like, the fight scenes read well, the characters are good, but I can't think of anything particularly interesting aside from, like, I think they're a Poscal Blightlord's champion who carries around their own brother in one hand as a desiccated seer corpse type thing. I'm really... It's engaging, and I want to keep reading it, but I'm really struggling for things that aren't just, they did this, a fight happened, some people lived, some people died. I can't think of anything outside of just some fight scenes and a bit of plot setup.
Sounds like nice 40k books, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a consistency to these
yes.
things.
When you've read as many as Rem has, certainly you probably start to spot the patterns.
Especially in some of the book series, like the old Space Marine Battle series. Oh, speaking of series, whatever happened to the fucking Conquest series?
Yeah, that just went away, didn't it?
We had the one with the Imperial Fist Librarian on the cover, nothing else afterwards.
Yeah, I guess they must have just like decided, you know what, we're
They
done with
gave
that
up.
plot thread now. Yeah.
It wasn't even a plot thread because none of these books were interconnected, apart from the fact that, hey, there's, there may be Primaris in all but like, the very first fucking book.
Probably because they just retired it for Dawn of Fire, I'm guessing.
I have no idea, to be honest. I'm just going to have a quick look on Black Library's website under the series section, because, okay, we got Dawn of Fire as a series, Novella Series 3, Mephiston, Siege of Terror, Inferno, Horus Heresy, Gaunt's Ghost, Conquest. Okay, so Conquests, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books in total for that series. Devastation of Baal, Ashes of Prospero, War of Secrets, Honor and Iron, Apocalypse, and Fist of the Imperium.
Yeah. I mean, 6 isn't bad for a 8th edition's book series.
Was
I
it?
guess.
6. I thought you said dicks for a second. I was like, pardon?
Ram, you know me better than that.
I'm just going to blame it on Discord glitching. But yeah. I think you've actually got more stuff in the Blackstone Fortress series.
I thought there was just 2 books in that.
There's 2 books, but there's 2 novels. There's also a shit ton of short stories, audio dramas, and a novella.
Right, I see.
Like there's more titles in total in Blackstone Fortress. There's more titles in total in fucking Blood Bowl.
Well, Blood Bowl's got a long history.
Yeah, but you only started getting like fiction from the last edition that came out.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. Yeah. Maybe not so much then.
I mean, like even the Space Marine Battle series had like a hell of a lot more stuff going on. Like you had like 37 things in that.
Like top of my head, I've got Hell's Reach, Damnos, Architect of Fate, Death of Antagonist, Siege of Castellax, Gildar Rift,
World Engine.
World Engine, Rin's World.
War of the Fang.
Battle of the Fang, Persona 4, though I don't think that was its name. No, Purge of Kalidas, that was its name.
Legion of the Damned, Castellax.
Said Castellax, but yes, Legion of the Damned.
Antagonists.
Said that.
Maladrax.
Not said that.
Pandorax.
That was Space Marine Battles?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was. Yeah, Pandorax.
There's a lot of axes in this, like Castellax, Maldorax, Pandorax.
Yeah. Did the second Damnos book come under Space Marine Battles, or was that separate?
You had Fall of Damnos and Damnos, according to this. So apparently, yes, you got two books called Damnos at the same price. And there's one series. Sword of Damocles, or Blade Damocles, rather.
Oh, yep. Damocles Gulf, Card and Shadow Sun. Remember that one? Read that one.
Overfiend.
Octarius, I'm assuming. Not read that one.
It's Orcs, White Scars, and Eldari.
Yeah, I'd assume Octarius or some other warlord.
Tyrant of the Hollow Worlds, Eye of Ezekiel, and Giant's Coffin.
I remember two of those. I've never heard of Giant's Coffin before.
Yeah, Sides of the Emperor, basically their last stand.
Right, I see. I've probably heard the story, but not known the name of the book.
I'm still waiting for. I still wish they never got rid of the coming soon page on Black Library side. They got rid of it to make room for Warhammer Horror, which also seems to have died a death recently, I feel.
I think crime's sort of taking over at the minute.
So what was the last, Warhammer Horror novel that came out?
I'm sorry. I
Funny enough,
genuinely do not know.
Funny enough, the one I'm thinking of, it's not even on the fucking Black Library site, it looks like.
Again, please update.
It was the one of, oh god. Had the flies on the cover. Fuck, what's it called? That's going to bug me now. Fuck. Because it had a physical hardback release, and it was like green. It was green in coloration. Deacon of Wounds. That's it. Yeah, that's not even on Black Library's website. I don't think, from what I could see. Where is it? Deacon of Wounds. Oubliette. Dark Harvest. Yeah, Deacon of Wounds isn't even on the. It's not even fucking available digitally, apparently. Okay, so better get a copy of that book.
Dear, oh dear, oh dear.
No, you can, if you search for it, it comes up. It's just not in the fucking Warhammer Horror section.
Womp womp.
But it's listed as a Warhammer Horror novel.
Oh dear. Black Library, fix your site. Again.
Please. Jesus Christ. Oh dear. Oh, and the other Belisarius I remembered. Simon. It was Simon and Adrian Belisarius. Such 40k names. Considering they got relatives called Gabriella, Hogan, Jubal, Juliana, and Scorpius, then you got Adrian and Simon.
Someone had to get the short straw, I suppose.
So all you need now is Alvin and Theodore.
Is that an Alvin and the Chipmunks reference?
What do you think?
Right. What time are we? Oh, right. Have we got some questions we can do, Rem?
Yeah, we can do some questions. 1 second. Let me just find a decent one. Try to find a decent one. Some very memey today. Right. Where do you think the Inari story is going?
Nowhere. In all truth, I don't really know. The Inari's plotline was just, they were invented to get Gilliman back. I hate to say it, the universe revolves around Gilliman a bit. And I feel like the Inari were invented to get as a mechanism to get Gilliman back in the plot and then conveniently disappear again.
Yeah, I mean, what doesn't help is the fact that the third book in the series got cancelled, so we're never going to get a culmination to their story.
Oh yeah, that happened, didn't it?
Yeah.
Any particular reason it was cancelled?
Yeah, apparently it's because the second one didn't sell enough, so Games Workshop just didn't want to commission for the third book.
Well, it did have Eldari and Necron fighting demons of Slanesh before the War in Heaven, or something. So it played fast and loose with time, as far as I recall. But it is what it is.
Yeah, still a shame though. Which is why I say, if people want more Xenos books, buy the ones that do come out, please. That's the only way you're going to get more.
Yeah, buy more Xenos.
Yes. Can Drukhari switch between groups such as Cabal to Witch Cult and vice versa?
Only if they want to die. Because if you leave, you'll die. They will find you. Probably. Anyway.
They do not know you, but they will find you, and they will kill you, because they are Liam Neeson.
They're much better than Liam Neeson, and far more ultra.
Please tell me you got the reference at least.
I know, I got the reference.
Oh yeah, absolutely, but those are dangerous words saying that they're better than Liam Neeson, because Liam Neeson can hear you, and he will find you.
Is he like the new ceiling cat then, is he?
He's everywhere. He will find you, and he is like...
Liam Neeson is watching you in one. You know the implication. Anyway. Who do you think would win in the fight? Demon Primarch Angron or Ghazghkull?
Still Angron. As an Orc player.
I mean, there was that one time that, you know... very mild spoiler from the Ghazghkull novel. So here's a little clap for you to cut out. Ghazghkull did beat the shit out of a Bloodthirster.
Yeah, but it's Angron.
Yeah, but it's Ghazghkull.
Ghazghkull's good. Obviously Ghazghkull did that before his super mecha transformation into whatever he is now. But I don't know. He's a Primarch. Ghazghkull's good, but it's a Primarch. I don't think. Unless Khorne has plans to turn Ghazghkull into a champion of Khorne, there is no way that Ghazghkull is beating Angron.
Is there actually a named character that Angron's actually killed?
Killed?
Yeah.
Oh, Christ.
Because if not, then Ghazghkull's actually one up on him, because he technically did kill Ragnar.
For 5 minutes.
Still counts.
Yeah, Angron butchered an entire host of captains without trying. Granted, they're all nameless jobbers, but point stands.
Point stands. Right. If multiple cities of Shyish reflect different beliefs in the afterlife, does that mean there's a part of Shyish? Does that mean there's a part of Shyish that is not absolute shit and terror?
Yes. Yes, there are absolutely paradise underworlds in Shyish, or there were, and then Nagash came and wrecked them all. Shyish was basically whatever you thought your afterlife was, is what Shyish was for you. You thought it was paradise? Then that's where you went. You thought it was hell? Then that's where you went. That was what your underworld in Shyish was. And then Nagash ruined it all.
Fair enough. Since it's established in Brotherhood of the Snake that Astartes' blood injected into a baseline human renders them a measure of immunity to radiation and an extended lifespan, yes, that does happen in the book. It's a very old book, mind. Why is this not standard practice amongst Astartes' chapters with their human servants and auxiliaries?
Because it's a giant waste of resources.
Or just getting a syringe, taking a syringe to an Astartes' arm and just go, right, inject.
But you don't get serfs to last more than 5 minutes. Unless you want them to fight or go into hazardous places.
That's what the auxiliaries are for, though.
But let's do our due diligence here. If I'm Gilliman, or I'm Marnius Calgar, or I'm whoever the master of the Astartes that sort of works with the Auxilia are, am I really going out of my way to give guardsmen blood from the Astartes? Also, how long does this resistance last? And how many guardsmen do you need to give it to? Because if you want to give it to a regiment of, let's say, 100,000 Auxilia troops, that means you've got to take 100 injections per member of the chapter. Just as an example. And that's a lot of blood. And that's a lot of time and admin. And it might not even be permanent. So it's just a giant waste of resources because you might be inconveniencing the Astartes before the campaign, where they need to be preparing and training, and if it's permanent, then, well, it's a lot of stuff to do, and the Astartes are never there, so, I just don't see it as a viable use of time and resources. Callous as that may be.
I can imagine it being something that might vary from chapter to chapter. Like
the Blood Angels doing it, because Baal is a radioactive hellscape, maybe, and also they're massively obsessed with blood, but...
True. Right. Do the Custodians possess armor interface ports in their bodies like the Astartes do?
No? Question mark? You know them better than I do.
I'll be honest, I don't think I've recalled seeing a naked Custodian apart from, in TTS.
Yeah, apart from Pillar days, there's never been canonical out-of-armor Custodians, to my knowledge, either.
Right, has anyone seen The Thing?
No. Unless you mean... I haven't even seen Fantastic Four, so I can't even comment on that. So
No, not that thing. The thing from John Carpenter.
Yeah.
Okay, you might be best to answer this one then. Do you think The Thing could survive in the 40k universe?
You know what? With the sheer numbers in terms of a body count of hosts it could potentially go through or the way it could assimilate, I think yes, and it could probably thrive, and that is a terrifying thought.
God, can you imagine if that thing got assimilated by the Nids?
Ah, shit.
Ooh. That's an even more terrifying thought.
Right. Question for Tack. Do you believe that Chaos could corrupt a Mega Gargant, and what do you think that could look like?
They have, as far as I'm aware. I don't know exactly how canonical it is, but if you give me 30 seconds, War Stomper Gargant. The War Stomper Mega Gargant, its canonical image, as I recall, has a giant Chaos symbol on it. I think. Yeah, it does. Granted, it's on its tabard, so may actually be from, confiscation, but it's got a giant corn symbol on its tabard. So, in essence, the way the Mega Gargants work is as follows. All of them are destruction at their core, but each of the three types of Mega Gargant is most likely to be found, if outside of destruction, with a particular Grand Alliance. The Kraken Eaters are most likely to be found with Order, because they're the smartest. The War Stompers are the smashiest, so they're most likely to be found with Chaos. And the Gatebreakers are weird, so most likely to be found with Death. Basically.
Fair enough. Right. Do you think Ideneth's soul-stealing magic could harvest a demon's warp energies?
No. Because it's not a soul. Or at least not a soul by conventional rules, anyway. At least that's my opinion. I don't think they've ever tried, because they seal souls in order to give themselves new souls. So they're never going to try.
Fair enough. One more. What is the relationship like between the Thousand Suns and the Dark Mechanicus?
I don't believe we have any idea.
So how do you reckon they get their tech in that then? Do you reckon they have serfs on site that do all the maintenance and stuff, or?
Well, I mean, all the armor is sealed shut.
I mean, for the sorcerers and that, making bolters and stuff like that as well.
I guess. I'd have to go back and check the Thousand Suns Codex, because I do own it. I'd have to go back and check. Top of my head, they probably have the odd Forge world that they use or own, or hell, maybe they just craft it out of psychic nonsense and condense warp energy, would make about as much sense.
Fair enough. Have the goals of the Eldari, Drukhari, and Exodites changed since the Yanari showed up?
Unless they are Yanari, no. The Dark Eldar still want to go on a rampage, the Exodites don't care, and the Craftworlders are just trying not to die. I think.
Fair enough. Okay, I think we'll call that there.
Yeah, it's a slightly shorter one today, I think, with everything. I think, as we've said everything we need to say. There wasn't a huge amount in the news cycle, and thank you very much for your questions. If you have any you'd like us to ask or that we didn't get around to answering today, please do leave them in the comments with the word question, and we will endeavour to answer them in a future episode. But with that, I think that brings us neatly to the end of episode 128 of Adeptus Podcastus. Thank you very much to Steph Swann Quills for joining us. It's been a pleasure having you on, and we look forward, if you'd like to join us in future, to have you on another time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And of course, thank you to Rem for doing all the reading that I never get time to do and all the writing that I never have time to do. And thank you for generally being very useful and for joining me once again on this programme.
I'm never useful. Stop lying.
Tell that to your viewers. Right. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you all very, very soon. For now, this has been Tactica Imperialis.
This has been Remleiz from 40k Theories.
This has been Stephanie Swann Quills.
And I butchered my own outro. Bye-bye.